Welcome back to the Ed Morrissey Show podcast. Joining us, as always, the Prince of Twitter, the Regent of RedState.com, Andrew Malcolm at AH Malcolm on Twitter/X. I've said this for years and I still can't get it out of my mouth properly. At AH Malcolm on Twitter.
That's right.
And he's over at RedState.com doing the VIP and occasional freebie stuff over at RedState.com. Got a couple of great columns up. I'm going to get to those in just a second, but have you been watching all the coverage from ABC, CBS, NBC, and CNN about Anthony Fauci's diaries? Have you been catching all the coverage that they've been?
I must have missed it, Ed.
You and everybody else. Fox is covering it, obviously. Rand Paul, if you haven't seen this, David wrote about it earlier today. I'm going to have it in the final word for Monday. Rand Paul got a hold of Anthony Fauci's diaries. I don't know what the story is on that. I don't know if it was part of his actual work at the NIAID or if it just got leaked. But yeah, he actually had some other ideas than what he was saying publicly in 2020, including about the wet market and zoonotic transfer, which was what his line was for COVID. He was pretty sure, Andrew, that wasn't the case pretty early on too. And But what I find most interesting is
he's got that. You go.
Okay. What I find most interesting is how much delight he was taking in hobnobbing with celebrities, including Jake Tapper, Dana Bash, Wolf Blitzer. Let's just say, Andrew, there's a reason why they're not covering this.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly. There is, they try to keep it hidden, but there is a fascination among journalists. Some keep it hidden better than others. But the fact that their press badge gets them in the vicinity of famous people, and of course the famous people play on that and use it as would anybody else. I have an old story. Do you remember the movie 3 Days of the Condor?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I like that movie very much. Robert Redford and Max Van Sydow. And anyway, the end of it is Robert Redford standing outside the old New York Times building with the sign and the time on it, and it says Times. And he is alleged to have leaked all the CIA stuff to them. And was it Cliff Roberts was the CIA guy? And he said, "Oh, you didn't." Anyway, while they were filming, Robert Redford came into the newsroom, and you would have thought the Queen arrived. There was this instant flocking to Robert Redford. I don't remember if he played the Bernstein and Woodwards before that. I think so. So anyway, he was very famous, and of course he reveled in all the adulation that was coming from people all around and trying to get pictures with him. And that's disgusting. Someday, it's too long a story. Someday, remind me. I'll tell you the story about.
I think I might have lost you for just a second.
So she had Fauci has beady eyes, and I don't. I never have trusted him. I didn't have any grounds like the diary. I suppose the diary has been verified in some way or another.
Well, let me put it this way. They're not disputing it. So I'm assuming it's been verified, but But yeah, this is I mean, what's interesting to me is the fact that none of these outfits are actually covering it at all, right? You wouldn't even know what was going on if it wasn't for Fox and some other independent, like Washington Examiner's covering it, and Red State's definitely covering it. We're covering it, that sort of thing. But if you weren't paying attention to that, you wouldn't know what even the reference was.
Who put it out first?
Rand Paul. He's releasing all this stuff,
right?
Yeah. So I mean, clearly it's legit. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing is.
What an idiot Fauci is. I mean, if you're gonna foment fraud, I'm not sure you want to document it to come out later. I mean, geez, I'm going to tell a lie today on TV.
Yeah. Well, it's not that. I mean, look. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. I mean, Ro Khanna claimed that he was exposing Jeffrey Epstein's enablers and read off 4 names on the floor of the House, and it turned out none of the 4 had anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein. So
and
it wouldn't be unprecedented.
Being on the floor of the House protects him.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Interesting about that. Yes. Yes, it does. It's called the Speech and Debate Clause, and it's which is fine. It's good. It's necessary. I understand why it's there, and technically speaking, people like Ro Khanna should pay a political price if they are defaming people. They won't because of the way the system works, but they should. And the House should actually punish people who do that type of thing. And again, they won't, because nobody wants to be held to a standard of anything. Yeah. It's called swamp for a reason. But I just, I saw this stuff about Fauci and the diaries and all this stuff that's coming out. And most of it is, some of it's substantive. Most of it just makes him look bad. And Rand Paul clearly can't stand Anthony Fauci, so he's releasing everything that makes him look bad. But
there's no consequences in Washington. I mean, how many months of period?
Yep. I think we're having a bit of a lag problem with today's show, so pardon our dust. There's some issues going on here. Well, welcome back. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty there, but Andrew is back with us. We want to get to his columns from last week. The first one that you wrote last week, just the title of it made me laugh. Illinois is bleeding. Oh, look, Dems are in charge. Well, Dems have been in charge for a long time in Chicago, and Illinois more broadly, I guess. And they're about to bleed out the Bears. I guess the Bears are looking to move over to Indiana, and
yeah, they're talking about it. I'm not sure if the Bears plan to go to Indiana is a real or a feint to get a better deal. They've bought a huge tract of land in suburban Arlington Heights, actually from a prep school friend of mine, which would be ideal, but they want special tax stuff from the state legislature, and I guess they're not inclined to do that. So if they're not, I suppose they could go to become the Hammond, Indiana Bears. Originally they were the Staley Bears. So
yeah.
Anyway, it's
the New York has 3 NFL teams, 2 of which aren't in the state of New York, right? They're in the Meadowlands, which is New Jersey.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and what is it? They're all these rich owners, the teams that started as local, what's the word, institutions,
Yeah.
Many of them have now been purchased by really rich people from somewhere else. The Cleveland Browns were owned by Art Modell from Brooklyn, and the Yankees were owned by George Steinbrenner from Cleveland. Now the Browns are owned by some rich guy from Tennessee. So it becomes a plaything and a maneuvering to get a new stadium, which the Browns are now building. And I suppose they'll start again in New York. The stadium for the Ohio State college football team was built in 1922 and has been updated as like 100,000 people. But these newer owners of the pro teams, they need new stadiums every 20 or 25 years to milk more money from it.
Well, I'm not going to begrudge team owners doing what they want to do with their own property. The problem is that usually it's not their own property, right?
Yeah.
Normally, they get people to build these stadiums for them. Now, the Bears have been in Soldier Field for decades at least, right? I mean, I think Soldier Field was.
Oh yeah.
When was it built?
They used to play the college all-star game, which used to be the college team against the reigning NFL champions. When I was in college in the 60s, the Bears played at Wrigley Field, and the seats I had were right behind the Bears bench, and Mike Ditka was playing, and he's a very colorful speaker.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it. Colorful. He's a colorful speaker. Yeah, like I said, one way of putting it is colorful. Look, I mean, I've seen this over and over again, right? I mean, if you were a Los Angeles fan, you stole the Rams from Cleveland, then lost them to St. Louis, and then got them back from St. Louis, and everybody was unhappy with everything. All this, the Raiders are now in Las Vegas. This is the third city that they've been in. Oakland, Los Angeles, and now Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I understand. I actually kind of understand the Raiders move to Las Vegas because Oakland is. Oakland's made choices, right? Choices made in Oakland. And as bad as it was at the Coliseum when the Raiders were there, it's worse in Oakland. And part of the reason why it was bad at the Coliseum when the Raiders were there was the Raiders, actually, quite frankly, but it was also not a great neighborhood. You remember this, right?
Yeah.
I think you were in Los Angeles, right? We were both in Los Angeles at the time when the Raiders were playing at the Coliseum.
Yeah.
And it was a vibe. Sort of a gangster vibe, but it was a vibe.
Well, but the teams that began as local institutions, fondly supported by local people living and dying with them, are now owned by basically foreigners, and it becomes a financial toy for them, which, as you say, they spent whatever it was, billions to get it. I guess it's their right, but they screw up what the team is supposed to be, not just an investment.
I agree.
And what was it? I think the Redskins or the Commanders? They were sold for $6 billion, and now the Seahawks were sold for $9+ billion.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so if you just own a team, you can make a few billion. It's like Steve Martin said, how to not pay taxes as a millionaire. First, get $1 million. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then get a lawyer. Get $1 million, then get a lawyer. Yeah. And you can figure it out. But
anyway, Illinois is so screwed up, as is the city of Chicago. The thing is, those people elected them, just like New Yorkers. Well, 1 million foreign-born Muslims elected Mamdani in New York City. So I guess to get what they asked for. But anyway, two more companies, big companies, have left Illinois, and specifically Chicago, for red states, not surprisingly. Morton Salt went to Kansas, and True Value Hardware went to Indiana. So, it's the bleeding little bit, 100, 200 jobs here, 300 jobs there. And as the Morton Salt people said, the office space in Kansas is half what it costs in Chicago. And it doesn't matter these days with all the communications where they are. And Kansas happens to be closer to the source of a lot of their salt. So it makes sense all around. It's a shame. And same in California. Voters have elected these guys who have screwed the place up royally, and they keep electing them. I guess we'll see come November if they're fed up. I suspect they're not. So
I suspect they're not fed up enough.
Yeah, exactly. Not fed.
I don't see that. In Los Angeles is, it wasn't just the Rams, it was also the Chargers, which started in Los Angeles, moved on to San Diego. Now they're back up to the LA area. Well, LA, they're in LA because they're sharing the stadium with the Rams, and which has got to drive the NFL nuts a bit in terms of scheduling. But
and the Lakers, they came from Minnesota, so
they did. The Lakers came from Minnesota. People don't remember that, but yeah, that's the reason why they were called the Lakers originally.
The frozen Lakers.
And the Jazz and the Utah Jazz was started in New Orleans, right? I mean,
yeah.
And there's two words that don't go together hardly at all. And those two words are Utah and jazz.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they move around. I get it. It's the part of the problem is that, well, I mean, we can get into that's a long thing. Just to wrap up on what's going on with the Bears and Illinois and Chicago, it's not just that they're losing the Bears. They also just lost a bunch of financial institutions, which came down to Texas, right?
Yeah. And Boeing went there from Seattle with their headquarters, and now they've moved to Virginia. Yeah, well, there's a lot of them that have, I think, is it United Airlines? Is it moving? Maybe I misremembered there, but there's a lot of, and there don't seem to be any consequence. I mean, there's no move to change things to accommodate and keep these jobs, and the voters seem unaware. So basically, I just become a spectator to watch New York go down the toilet
Again. Yeah.
Until they find the next Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Good luck with that. All right. Your other column today, we should get this in here, is Rubio events in 2028, the GOP's pleasant predicament. Yeah. And, I don't know that I'm necessarily on either side at the moment. I'm actually pretty open to the idea that there might even be more than two. But it's clearly these are the two preeminent contenders for the MAGA crown, I guess you could say. Part of the issue with that, though, and I'm not sure that you got into this, is that in order for either one of those two to be the nominee, Trump's term here has to be seen as successful. Because if it's not seen as successful, then they're going to have to come up with somebody who isn't really associated with this term.
Right.
I mean, do you see that as a potential issue coming up here?
Well, I see it as yes, of course, but I see it as kind of a distorted version of that. Historically, when a president finishes up a second term, this is Trump's second term, not consecutive, but it's his second term. Historically, when that happens, the nation, the voters, go for something different Uh, you have Dwight Eisenhower, and then the old general hero, World War II. You reject his vice president, and you go with the young guy, John Kennedy. Um, uh, then in '68, you reject Johnson over the war in his second term, and you go with Richard Nixon. Um, I argue that George H.W. Bush was really a third Reagan term. But when he finished, they went for a younger Democrat governor. So, and after Obama, then they went for Trump. So um, the pattern is there that they want something different. Now, there's always, of course, Ron DeSantis, who is supportive of Trump, but the MAGA people wouldn't probably call him MAGA. So you have Vance and Rubio, and they both have their avid supporters who the Vance people especially are very aggressive on social media, people who are perceived to have criticized their guy. So it's a strange permutation. Vance has been saying all the right things about supporting Trump, as he must, as vice president. However, his people have leaked that he opposed the Iran war. And he has, during his book tour, talked about things that are not very Trumpian, bigger government. And so I suppose he could try to make an argument that he's supported Trump, but he's not really MAGA. Rubio, despite whatever policies he's arguing, is to my eyes the most eloquent, well-spoken government person in my adult lifetime. This guy's got a grasp of the intimate issues on every issue.
Yeah, he's deep. He's deep. He's deep on policy. He's definitely deep on policy.
He's deep on policy. He's bilingual. He's the son of immigrants. He's done everything that's supportive of Trump. He's got national security advisor. He's running AIDS and the U.S. aid and the State Department. So he's got an argument, not necessarily pro-MAGA or anti-MAGA, but he's got an argument for real competence. The Democrats are in chaos. Their usual proclivity is to go for a senator. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't see any prominent Democrat senator.
Not of an age that you want to be aiming at, right? I mean, the prominent senators are Bernie Sanders and Liz Warren. I mean,
nor of intellectual competence. So the two governors, Newsom in California and Pritzker in Illinois, are positioning themselves to offer themselves, so to speak, aggressively as a Democrat candidate. But the records in their state, we just talked about Illinois, but the records in their states are pathetic in terms of economic policy. And somebody has to be unconscious to think that to support bringing Newsom's economic policies or politics to the nation at large. So at the moment, excuse me, they don't really have anybody. I suspect, as they did in 1992, I suspect they want to go for something fresh. And that would not be Chris Van Hollen or the guy from Connecticut or somebody from the Senate. But if you look at who they've picked, they're all come from Congress, and except for Dukakis, and I guess you'd expect that for the party of big government.
They're also sort of exactly. I think that's actually right. They're the party of big big Washington, right? And so they're going to pick people from big Washington to do that. But they're also at a deficit in terms of governors. They just don't
Yeah,
have a whole, Republicans hold more gubernatorial positions and have for quite a while now.
absolutely. They had somewhere around 30 at one point. And, that's traceable back to a Democrat, Obama.
Obama,
Remember,
right?
yeah, 2010, the the midterm elections. Then he didn't pay much attention, but and that shows. But the Democrats lost 63 seats, the most in decades, to the Republicans, and the Republicans gained in the Senate. And controlling the Senate is what gave us the conservative court that we have now, thanks to Mitch McConnell and him not moving forward with Merrick Garland. So Obama was a disaster for state level Democrats. In that 2010, they lost nearly 1,000 state government seats, 6 governorships, I think, and 1,000 legislators, which was crucial because that was the reapportioning year from the 2010 census. And they've not gained those 1,000 back. I think they've got 500 or 600 of them back, but they're still paying the price for that for Obama. So, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. They're not in the farm team. The state governments have been a traditional farm team for politicians in Washington,
Yep.
and Republicans have brought along a whole bunch: Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush, and
Yeah.
so it doesn't look easy. You would think voters would want a change in 2028, but it's not a gimme for Democrats.
No, I agree. All right, man, let's go ahead and get to our jokes of the day and wrap things up for today. I know you've got one. I've got one for you.
Okay, I've got one. Yeah. The police got a call from an elderly woman about a naked man, her neighbor. And so the police show up, and the woman takes the police officer into her bedroom and opens the curtains, and there across the alley is a man in his undershirt shaving. And she says, "There, see?" And the police officer says, "Well, he's in the bathroom and he's shaving. There's nothing really wrong with that." And the elderly woman says, "Yo, yeah? Well, get up on this ladder and look."
Yeah. I think she's enjoying herself. All right, here's one for you. A minister decides he's going to give a talk to the Lions Club, and the topic's going to be sick. So he gives the talk. When he gets home, his wife says, "How did the talk go?" He says, "It went fine." And she asked, "What was it? What were you talking about?" And he was kind of embarrassed to tell his wife about this. So he said, "Well, I discussed horseback riding. It was a speech about horseback riding." She said, "Okay." So a few days later, she ran into a couple of the guys from the Lions Club at a shopping center, and they turned around and told her what a great speech her husband had given. And she says, "I heard about that." She said, "I was surprised that he talked about this because he's only tried it twice. The first time he got so sore he could hardly walk, and the second time he fell off." Now, I will say this. I heard a different version of it. This a long time ago. I heard a different version
Never
of
mind.
this.
Never mind. We don't have to go there, Edward.
I heard a different version of this. It was an Irish joke. And I'll tell you the Irish version because I think you'll appreciate this. Man's at the pub, right? And he's drunk, and he gets up and offers a toast, and he says, "To the best years of my life spent between the legs of my wife." So the next morning, she asked him, "How was it at the pub?" And he said, "Well, I toasted you." And she said, "Well, what did you say?" And he says, "Well, I said, here's to the best years of my life spent in the arms of me wife." Or no, I screwed it up anyway. Spent in church beside my wife. Spent in church beside my wife. It's been a while since I've told this joke, obviously. So again, the wife runs into a couple of people from the pub who, make a comment about his toast. And she says, "Yeah, I heard about that, but it's only happened twice. The first time when we were married, and the second time I had to wake the man up." Anyway, obviously I'm rusty. Obviously I'm a little rusty because we were out last week. So I'm a little rusty on delivery here. We will we'll work on that for the next episode. Andrew Malcolm.
All right.
The Prince of Twitter is unimpressed. We'll just throw that joke right out the window. It's sort of a Johnny Carson thing. The Prince of Twitter, the regent of redstate.com, at AH Malcolm on Twitter/X. And we will do this again next week, and I'll do it better the next time, Andrew.
Yeah, don't worry about that, Ed.